Com.
I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And business, we talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. It's a live show. You could call in to the beautiful studio here in Elk Grove Village at 312-642-5600. And remember to check out our wonderful sponsors, Your Solution Center, the folks at Tandem HR. Give them a call, 630-928-0510, or check out their website, tandemhr.com. I'm thrilled to be joined by the CEO of real estate hard money lender, Walnut Street Finance, Bobby Montagne. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Bobby, you have discovered an area which many of our listeners probably don't know much about. This idea of real estate hard money lending, and this idea of real estate. You've been involved in housing redevelopment projects and have found some ways to help people make a lot of money. How did you get into this, Bobby? Tell us your story.
Well, thanks again for having me. My short story is I got out of school in the late 80s. I worked for other real estate developers and finance companies for 10 years. I started my own company in 1997, building what I call infill residential projects in and around Washington, D.C., around what we call the Beltway. And when I say infill, I mean basically that whole area has been built out, and it has been built out for years, decades even. So if you want to develop there, you have to buy something old and reposition it, knock it down, renovate it, gut renovate it, that sort of thing. So I did that for 20 years. In 2017, I decided that I had built enough things, and I wanted to begin to lend money to my former competitors. And I had a reason for doing that, but that's my short story.
Interesting. So, Bobby, you have, as you said, discovered this world of house flipping. I think that's the general term that many people refer to it as. And you've become a voice on that subject of how it's serving both investor and community interests. What I've found, Bobby, is that there's a small number of people that have discovered this, and they're making a lot of money. But you've discovered how it's actually impacting the economy. Property flipping, house flipping, whatever you want to call it. Is it creating jobs? Tell us why more people should get into it, again, for the community reasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, house flipping and repositioning houses has been going on for a very, very long time. And what happened was that in 2005 and 2006, it peaked, like many things in real estate, before the recession. And then it dropped off a cliff. And unlike many things that since the recession have regained or crawled back or trended towards improving, capital money for fix and flip or infill development wasn't available post-recession. The reason it wasn't available is because there was a law that was passed called Dodd-Frank that essentially didn't allow banks to participate in this space anymore. It made it too difficult, too many boxes for a developer or a fix and flipper to check in order to get financing through a traditional bank. And I saw that in 2013. I didn't do anything about it. I saw it in 2014. I didn't do anything about it. And then finally in 2015, I decided to pivot my company from being the builder-developer to the guy who provided financing to all the other rehabbers or fix and flippers. And
that's where you have Walnut Street Finance. So tell us a little bit about what you do. You call yourselves the hard money loan lenders, essentially enabling more people to get into the space. Tell us why somebody would need somebody like you.
Because let's say you see an opportunity in your neighborhood. There's a house that you can buy. It's everything in your neighborhood trades at $400,000, for example, and you see a house that you can buy for $250,000. But the house is dilapidated. Nobody could live in it. It's run down and has been run down for years. You buy it. You put a contract in for $250,000. You have a great buy. You have to put in maybe $75,000 to $100,000 to improve it, and then it's worth whatever all the other houses in the neighborhood are worth, $400,000 plus or minus $1,000. So you buy it for $250,000, you fix it for call it $75,000 or $100,000, so you're in at $325,000 or $350,000. You sell it for $400,000, you make $50,000 to $75,000. That's the lure. That's the attraction of this space, and we provide the capital for that developer or that fix and flipper, because unless they had that cash lying around, which most of them don't, they need capital, they need debt, and they can't go to their traditional bank to get debt, and so we provide that capital. And unfortunately, the space is known as hard money lending, which is I don't think a great name for it. It's really a private lending. It's a private bank. It's private lending. It's not hard money lending. There's nothing hard about it.
Interesting. So, Bobby, I don't want to ask you to share all of your secrets, but what I know you've been in this in the world of real estate for several decades, and no doubt you have discovered the types of deals that are of interest to you. Is there something, any tips that you can share for our listeners? I realize, obviously, you're primarily in, as you said, the Beltway, but are there any tips that you can share for our listeners in the Chicagoland area of what Bobby Montagne looks for?
Yes, for sure. What I look for, what I hunt for, first is neighborhoods that are desirable, which is just simply location. For us, it's anything close to our metro, which is our subway system. It's anything close to places that are walkable, restaurants, retail, desirable places. So I look for neighborhoods close to those. And then I look for that dilapidated or that rundown or that forgotten piece of property in there, and I buy it. I improve it, and then I sell it. And I do that again and again. And now I'm doing that exact same thing, except I'm providing the capital for others to do it.
Bobby, I want to pick on the middle part of what you just said, you improve it. And I realize that that's your intention to improve, but there's often along the way a lot of permits that need to be pulled and a lot of approvals that need to be obtained. How have you found the government, and I'll use that as a very general term, but local and other officials to be supportive of folks like you that are involved in property redevelopment?
Shalom, you so nailed it. So many people get in trouble. Let me back up. So you see the opportunity, you take action, and you write a contract. And you know a little bit about construction. You might have had a hammer in your hand at one point in your life, and you feel confident in the construction side. What he gets caught up is on the permit and approval and inspection side. And in order to get through the permit and approval side, it's not a black box. It's not a secret. And the municipalities aren't the enemy. They're simply trying to ensure that people build safe housing for the ultimate end user. So the way to do it is you hire an architect, you draw plans, construction plans, you lay down the specifications. For example, we're going to use 2x4s for interior walls. And then you walk those plans through the appropriate municipality or city, and they're glad to provide input, review them, and approve them. Then you have your permits, you have the foundation plans to build your home, to renovate the home, and you have the construction drawings to provide to construction inspectors throughout the process. it sounds step by step, but in reality, it becomes very, very difficult and frustrating because people don't have the proper plans and specifications to begin with. It's a huge tripping point for many fix and flippers, and it's one of the things that we're proud of in our lending is that we can help our borrowers get through that process.
Because you've been through it so many times before. Well, Bobby, we appreciate your input. Fascinating knowledge on a very, very interesting subject of real estate entrepreneurship. Something that many of our listeners probably don't know much about, but they should find out a lot more. There's a lot available online and a lot of information available on your website, walnutstreetfinance.com. Bobby Montagne, the CEO of Walnut Street Finance, thank you so much for joining us on Get Down to Business.
Shalom, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Coming up after this very quick break, we're going to be chatting with Michael Meath, the spokesman for the American Coalition of Competitive Energy Suppliers. You don't want to miss it, Chicago. You're listening to Get Down to Business. We'll be right back.
How can